This is quite possibly the most unflattering camera angle that I could ever record at, but nevertheless, that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to do yet another video on the Samsung Galaxy Note 7. Now, the Galaxy Note 7, I've done a video unboxing it, and I'm going to do a video reviewing it, yet this is the first video in a while where I've actually posted an update, just kind of talking about the experience, and also shutting down a lot of criticism that I've gotten regarding this device, as well as answering some of your questions. Now, on my Note 7 unboxing video, I got a lot of different questions, a lot of different comments, a lot of different concerns. This device isn't connected. And the thing is that the Note 7 is a device that is truly just, it's a great device. Also, I don't understand why this is, I just noticed it's connected to my network, but it's also in airplane mode. That's weird. Anyways, so a lot of you guys had questions about the Note 7, about what things worked, what things maybe didn't work on the Note 7 in 2019. But just to preface, the most important thing if you're going to try to consider using a Note 7 in 2019, now this is not the review, this is just getting out all the extra special things about the Note 7 that you need to know if you're going to try to use one, or if you are using one, so that way the review can just focus on using it like any other phone and not it being a Note 7 specifically. So, let's get started. So the first question a lot of people asked is obviously, are you worried about the device catching fire? And this is something that needs to be put to rest, because I've seen articles about this all the time. There was one that was posted just like a year or so ago, right before the Note 8 came out, and it was basically trashing everyone who still had a Note 7, saying these are dangerous, these are reckless people, you should be ashamed of yourself for holding on to this device, it's going to explode at any moment, you're ridiculous, you're gross, you're horrible, whatever smear you can think of to try to bash someone for merely holding on to a device. And the truth is that those people are wrong. They are very, very wrong, and I will explain that. So, that's why I'm going to title this video, You Are Wrong About the Note 7. Now, I've owned every single Galaxy Note device that's ever been released or manufactured. I've owned the Note 1, the Note 2, the Note 3, the Note 4, the Note Edge, the Note 5, the Note 7, the Note Fan Edition, the Note 8, and I'm recording this on my Note 9. Right now, I have in front of me a Note 4, a Note 5, a Note 7, another Note 7, a Note 8, and I'm filming this with the Note 9. So, why is that important? Well, it's important because it illustrates the point that any single device has a potential for a battery to be defective in the device. All of these phones are in front of me. None of them have had any issues, and none of them will have any issues. This Note 7 is no more likely to have a defect than this Note 5, this Note 8, or this Note 4. And you might be asking, wait, but there was a recall. Okay, that's not really an asking, but nevertheless, there was a recall. There's more of these devices having issues than others. Obviously, you must be wrong, right? No. And here's why. You know how many devices were actually susceptible to issues and actually had issues? Well, let's break it down. The first Note 7, so both of these units, these are both Generation 1 launch model units. This one's T-Mobile, this one's Verizon. These were released August 19th, 2016. Now, some stories started popping up about these devices overheating, catching on fire, exploding, whatever you want to call it, overheating to the point where the device was no longer functional and was a potential safety risk. Right. September 2nd. So just a couple weeks afterwards, Samsung issues a voluntary recall. They say, hey, we're experiencing some issues with the Galaxy Note 7. We're going to do a recall. We're going to keep you updated in the next couple weeks. We're going to get you some new phones. They're not going to have any problems. And this is only a few units that this has happened to, but still be careful. There could be some issues happening. Translation, please don't sue us. Give us your Note 7, we'll give you a new one. So that's what they did. They said, hey, we will give you a brand new Galaxy Note 7 if you give us your current unit, free of charge. We don't care. You can keep the, some places even said you can keep the accessories. We don't care. Just give us the phone. Some people even kept things like the S Pen and the SIM card tray, which I did when I sent back my silver one. If you guys remember, I had a Gen 1 Verizon unit just like this, only it was in silver. I did send that one back because I broke it, I cracked it, and it also was one that I recovered from the 0% update, and because of recovering it, I didn't have root access, and the fingerprint sensor did not work. So I eventually sent that one back. I will be sending back this black one because this black one, as you can see, is not in the best condition. Every single corner of the device is shattered, and the back panel is also shattered underneath this case. So this one will eventually be going back as well. But in the meantime, it is fully working, charging up to 100%, working just fine. As you can see, this one's working just fine. So, and the only issue with this one's on the August patch, this one's on the July patch, and this one, whenever you charge it, it does pop up the recall message, but only when you charge it. If you just lock and unlock it, it doesn't do anything, it's normal. So, and this also begs the question of what still works on the Note 7, provided once you get past the updates. What can you do from there? Because that's number one, is getting past the updates. Because obviously, if your phone can't charge anymore, the last thing you're concerned about is whether or not service works or whether or not certain apps on the phone are compatible. So let's assume that you've gotten past that point, your phone's at 100%, and your phone's doing just fine. What can you do from there? Well, here's what works. Now, keep in mind, you're still on Android Marshmallow. You're not getting any updates to Nougat, Oreo, Pie. You can forget about that. You're still on Android Marshmallow. So what works and what doesn't work? Obviously, charging, assuming once you get past that update, works just fine. You'll be able to use it with any USB Type-C accessories, any cases. The Note 7 backpack still works. You can still find cases being liquidated and screen protectors as well, so you're fine in that regard. Your service, as long as you're not trying to use Verizon, your service will be fine, at least in the U.S. T-Mobile, AT&T, Sprint, Straight Talk, U.S. Cellular, Boost Mobile, whatever. That will all work. What doesn't work is Verizon, especially if you're trying to use a Verizon Note 7 on Verizon. And I know because I tried this. That silver unit that I had, I tried to use that. Verizon blacklisted every single IMEI of their Verizon Note 7s. They basically have them listed as if someone didn't pay their bill. And, even if the device was fully paid off, I know because that happened. Someone sold me a Verizon Note 7, that silver one. It was fully paid off. They bought it outright, and it showed up as blacklisted. So it could not be activated, even bricked my SIM card, and I had to pay $20 for a new SIM card. So that was unfortunate. That does not work. However, if you have a Verizon Note 7, you can use it on any other carrier because Verizon phones are unlocked, at least the Note 7 is. By default, out of the box, unlocked. So if you want to use it on Sprint, use it on AT&T, use it on T-Mobile especially. That's the one that's worked the most, is using Verizon phones on T-Mobile. You will be just fine. So as far as service, that's how you know that you'll be up and running. Obviously, Straight Talk, all that other stuff will work just fine, especially in America. I don't know about other countries. I know some other countries did it a little bit differently. Some of them blacklisted IMEIs. I know in Canada, they did a full blacklist where it actually shut down any radios on the device, meaning there was no Bluetooth, no Wi-Fi, none of that stuff. So depending on what version you have, you may have more issues than just software updates. But again, assuming you get past that point, because that's a whole separate video. If you guys have a Note 7 that's in that condition, just let me know and I can help you get past it, because it honestly depends on the version. I've only worked on American units so far, but I've been able to recover them both from 60 and from 0, and I haven't had any issues with that. So, minus the ones that I mentioned before. So that's all no big deal. But Canadian units, other international units, that all depends. So, now, what else doesn't work? Well, here's what doesn't work. The secure folder, that does work. As you can see, I have the secure folder. It is the 1.0, the one that comes with the Note 7. So you're not going to be able to update it, but secure folder still works perfectly fine on the Note 7. Even updating things like your internet. You can update the internet app. All your Google stuff will update just fine. You can't update any of your built-in Samsung apps because those require Android Nougat or higher to be updated. So your gallery, your camera, your messages, your phone, none of that's going to be updated. That's all going to be on the same version as it is out of the box. Whatever. Samsung Pay is not going to work. So if you have Samsung Pay, it will not work on your Note 7, period. And also, if you want to use a Note FE, it won't work either because it's not the right country. You have to use a US phone that isn't a Note 7 if you want Samsung Pay. So if you want Samsung Pay, you're going to have to step up to the Note 8 or higher or lower. So Samsung Pay does not work on the Note 7 anymore. So if you wanted to use Samsung Pay, you can't. Now, Google Pay, Google Wallet, I haven't tested that because I don't use that, but from what I understand, that will work just fine. So, and if you have a Note 7 and you tried to use Google Pay and it didn't work, let me know. But that should work just fine because all the Google stuff works just fine. Some people have asked me like, oh, well, can other apps update? Yes, they'll all update just fine. So just like from that point, it'll update just like if you had an S7 Edge or a Note 5 that was still on Android Marshmallow. So keep in mind, you are on Android Marshmallow, so you don't have a lot of Android Nougat's Oreo Pie features. You're never going to get those. If you want those features, you're going to have to get the Note FE or the Note 8. So that's but all your other apps, all that other stuff, like beyond your out-of-the-box apps, they'll all update just fine, and you won't have any issues with those. So, also, what else works and doesn't work? Obviously, all the built-in features, your blue light filter, your airplane mode, flashlight, NFC, that's also going to work on your American Note 7. You won't have any issues with that. Using all your other basic apps that you would use for anything. Samsung Notes can be fully updated. Samsung Email cannot be updated. Samsung's internet browser can be fully updated to the newest version. And just different things like that. I've tried to sideload newer versions of like the phone, email, stuff like that. That doesn't work. So, and like things like there are certain things that will be able to update, like the clock that'll be able to update. Your Galaxy App Store will update just fine. You can still go and update all of your themes. You can still put themes on it. That all works just fine. You can still download other apps through the Galaxy App Store and through the Google Play Store. That all still works. Samsung didn't really disable any of that stuff. You won't be able to back up from this because in order to use this, you have to set up with the Shield, and the Shield does not allow that because of the way you set up the phone, because you set up as an administrator. So you won't be able to do like backup and restoring. However, Smart Switch does still support the Note 7. At least transferring stuff from other phones to the Note 7. I used my old Note 5, and that was on Android Nougat, so on a higher software than the Note 7, and I was able to transfer all my stuff to the Note 7 with no issues. So that works. I didn't test it the other way around. I probably should test that at some point before the review to see if you'd be able to move this stuff from, if you want to use your Note 7 for like a year and then transfer it to the Note 9 or whatever, if that works. I might test that at some point. But based on it working the other way, I haven't had any issues, so I doubt that Smart Switch will have any issues. So Smart Switch works perfectly, and that's still okay. Obviously, the camera is still great. You're not going to have any issues with the camera. Still has the SD card slot, still has water resistance. None of that stuff's obviously going to stop working. So, also your edge panels. You can update your edge panels. There are newer versions of the edge panels. There are newer versions of the always-on display. There are newer versions of, Samsung Music. All that stuff, when you log in on your Note 7 and you get the Shield up, the App Store will prompt you to update those apps. That's all fine. That will all work with no issues. So you don't have to worry about all that. All your basic stuff will still work just fine, just like any other phone. So yeah, so the biggest thing is, obviously you can't fly with it. You don't have Samsung Pay. You don't have Gear VR. At least you can't use Gear VR with Samsung's Oculus apps. So if you have a Gear VR that supports the Note 7, you can still use Google Cardboard just fine. I know because I tried it. It works beautifully on the Note 7. You just can't use the Oculus experience with the Note 7 because they disabled that. If you try to put your Note 7 in the Gear VR headset, it'll say for your safety, we've disabled the Note 7 from this feature. Apologies for the inconvenience. So that does not work on the Note 7. Also, certain versions of the Note 7, like for example the Verizon version, doesn't even have Samsung Pay at all, which it didn't work anyways, so that's no big deal. And some, like the Verizon version, doesn't have the device maintenance tab, so there isn't a way to get that. Whereas on the T-Mobile variant, you do have the device maintenance tab. So if you go into your settings, you do have the device maintenance options, and that all works. Still works just fine. Also, if you use Samsung Plus or the what's now the Samsung Members app, even if you use it on your Note 7, it doesn't give you any recall messages, which I thought was interesting. So you can be on your Note 7, it will detect that you're using a Note 7, it will give you the normal Samsung tips, and it will detect that you're using a Note 7, and it won't actually give you any alarms or anything. So if do I have Samsung Members on this phone, on this Verizon phone? I don't think I do, but if you get the Samsung Members app, it'll still give you the normal battery notifications, just like any other phone. You know, when you reach 15%, it'll be like, hey, you need to charge your phone. Doesn't bring up any recall messages, doesn't do any of that. You know, you can even still register this on your Samsung account, and it will actually send you an email, and it'll show the Note 7. It'll say, hey, welcome to the Galaxy. And it doesn't give you any messages there either, which I thought was kind of interesting. So, none of that stuff. Honestly, if you had a phone, and if someone just gave you this phone, and you didn't know anything about the Note 7, and this phone was given to you without any updates, and the shield in place so it didn't get any updates, you probably wouldn't even know it was recalled. You know, you'd use it all the time just fine, unless you had like Verizon or something. But you'd be able to use it just like a normal phone, and you wouldn't even think about it. You know, yeah, it'd be on older firmware than the S7 and the Note 8 and all that, but it still worked just fine, and it still does. Obviously, all of your S Pen features, the screen off memo, the GIF creation, pinning to the always on display, translating, screen write, all still works just fine. So, as far as stuff, you know, that works on the Note 7, there's nothing wrong with it. It still works. Does everything you want it to do. Now, going back to the issues that people were talking about these devices exploding, to this day, and I linked some in my unboxing video, to this day, you can still find eBay listings with replacement batteries for Note 7 and Note Fan Edition. And you can get them in either 3500, just like the Note 7, or 3200, just like the FE. They're fully interchangeable. And if you're worried about the battery in your Note 7, if it's overheating, if it's getting a little bit too hot, maybe your battery's just worn out over the last couple of years because you've been using it and you just want to replace the battery, get a new battery. I don't understand why so many people who have been complaining about this phone haven't even mentioned that. And some of these are on big tech forums too. Like forums for people who love technology and are clearly tech savvy. Yet I've never once seen someone say, hey, just put a new battery in it and you should be all right. I don't know why I've never once heard someone say that, because it would very easily solve the problem. Or maybe just because of the second recall and Samsung trying to replace the batteries and that didn't work. But like, if you buy a third-party battery, obviously it's not going to be subjected to the recall, because Samsung confirmed themselves that it was the batteries themselves. It was both batteries having issues. First one because it was bent in the wrong direction. The second one because it was missing the insulation tape. We know this now. So if you're so worried about your Note 7, put a new battery in it. Just like your Note 5, just like your Note 8, just like your Note 4, although not as easy. Put a new battery in it. Also, people forget that back when the recall first happened, people said that, oh, the versions that were made in Korea have the defective cells, and the ones made in China don't. This T-Mobile Note 7 was made in China. This Verizon one was made in Korea. So supposedly, this Verizon version should be more susceptible to damage than this T-Mobile version. And that has played out, because both this one and my silver one got pretty decently warm on the charger. Like, they weren't dangerously hot. You know, the silver Note 7, there was one time when I took it off the charger and it was burning hot. But, you know, my Note 5 has done that, and it was way hotter than this Note 7 was. So, you know, my Note 5's done that, my Note 8 has done that, my Note 4 has done that. When I take it off the charger, it's burning hot. My Note 9's done it. All those phones have done it. The Note 7 did it the least. This particular Note 7 hasn't done that at all. It's been very nice. It's been only the slightest bit warm when I charge it. If I went based on temperature, I would assume that this Note 7 is the safest device that I have. And some people are saying like, oh, well, that means that it's not dissipating the heat. There's no fan in here. It's not a matter of if it feels cooler, that doesn't mean that it's actually hotter on the inside. It means it's cooler. And running an app that monitors the temperature internally confirms that. So, again, 40 confirmed cases out of, people keep saying 2.5 million. People forget that they sold more phones after the recall happened, and they sent out new units. There were some new units that got sold. So that's upwards of 3 million devices. 3.5 million devices, sometimes up to 3.8 if you talk about globally, because there's a lot of devices that were sold but hadn't been shipped yet. They got returned. So about 3.8 million devices have existed of this Note 7. Of the Note 7 in general. About 3.8 million of those devices have existed and have been produced. About 2.8 to 3 million actually got out there. And that's that many devices, and 40 of them have confirmed issues where they had spontaneously combusted. Keep in mind, whenever the first recall happened, people said there were 105, 110 cases. That wasn't true. A lot of those cases were fabricated. They were made up. Some of them were even reported, and you could tell that it wasn't even a Note 7. There was one that someone reported, and it was a Note 4. Another one someone reported, it was like a J1, not J1. It was like a Galaxy Amp Pro or something like that, like one of the budget phones that have the removable batteries. Obviously not the same phone. It's way smaller, made out of plastic, not the same phone. And of course, the S7 Edge had plenty of instances where the S7 Edge had caught on fire. The S6 Edge Plus had instances where it caught on fire. Supposedly there was one Note 9 that caught on fire. That was bullcrap, but whatever. Since the Note 7, S8 hasn't caught on fire. Note 8, S9, Note 9, Actives, none of that have caught on fire. None of them. Other than occasionally you'll see like an old device that caught on fire. Like after the Note 7, there was some refurbished AT&T Note 4s that had bad batteries in them because they had counterfeit batteries in them. And some of them caught on fire. So, if you are one of those companies that are constantly saying, give up your Note 7, you're a horrible, dangerous, disgusting person for holding on to your phone, then shut up, because you don't know what you're talking about. You really just don't. These are coming from people who haven't repaired these devices, who haven't done research on these devices, who don't understand how these devices work, who literally couldn't even replace the battery on their phone if you had them do it. And yet these people are trying to say that the people who are holding on to these devices, are somehow bad. We're not even taking these on planes. I still say, do not take this on a plane. I know the statistics is in your favor, but don't take it on a plane. If they catch you with this device and it explodes, you will owe that airline $180,000. Don't take the phone on a plane. But as long as you don't take the phone on a plane, you're fine. It's a cell phone. It sometimes may have an issue because it's a cell phone. It has a battery. Batteries can sometimes overheat. But let's get this story straight. Anyone who's worried about the Note 7 should not be worried about the Note 7. So, I do know a couple people who still have their Note 7s as of last year. I know, I forgot his name, but he's the guy who does the Throwback Thursdays. I think is it EasyTech, something like that. I forgot his channel name, but he's a cool dude. EasyComputerSolutions. So, EasyComputerSolutions, he still has his Note 7, at least he did last year. My buddy Zack, he did the videos on these back when they were still relevant. He still has his Note 7. Who else? There's a couple other people who I know still have their Note 7s. I know there's a couple other guys, like, just randomly who got these recently. If they had, had cell phone stores and someone dropped one of these off and they got one. There's another dude I saw who had one. He got a silver one. It's T-Mobile, just like this, the same security patch, but it was silver. And he even asked me if I wanted to sell my blue coral to him, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. But yeah, so he still has his. I'll drop that video. I'll drop all these videos in the description of these people who still have their Note 7s. But in 2019, I don't believe I've seen a single video caption 2019. I think the earliest I saw was like late 2018. Maybe I saw one from January. I don't know. But either way, there's not that many people. I have yet to see a single video on YouTube of someone in 2019 who owns a Note 7. So I clearly have a monopoly on that. And I know my unboxing video got a lot of traffic. I think it's sitting at around 12,000 views right now. So this video might get some traffic as well. Because, you know, Note 7, very common device. Not common device, a very uncommon device. And one that a lot of people have a lot of questions about. So, but yeah, so that's basically... answering some also some people had some questions about this device, about this one and about this one. This one I got in a trade for a Galaxy Note Fan Edition. I paid $150 for my Galaxy Note Fan Edition. It was a silver one, and I traded this a guy who lived close to me at the time. He gave me $50 and this Note 7 for that Note FE. So I essentially got this Note 7 for $100, just like that silver one that I got. Only that one was on 0. This one was on 60. That was in perfect condition. This one's shattered like crazy. If I take the case off without getting any glass in my fingers, you can hear the glass crunching when I take the case off. But yeah, so this device is badly damaged. You can see that right there. Completely shattered. All over the back and all over the front. So yeah. So I have this little case on it. It's got some glass shards and water in it, but that's okay. I actually got this case from Zack. You can hear the glass crunching when I put it on. But yeah. So obviously pretty dangerous with all that glass. Honestly, I'm more worried. This is more of a danger of it being shattered and having glass falling out of it than it is of it exploding. You know, so that's the only thing. I'm not even worried about. And this is one of the Korean manufactured ones, and this one did heat up more than this blue one. So this one, if there was one of these that was going to explode, I'd put my money on this black one. But you know, again, this one still works just fine. Just logged in with my iris scanner. Nothing wrong with it. So, yeah, obviously it's shattered like crazy, and this one I will eventually be sending back, unless I can find because I can find replacement back panels and I can find replacement display assemblies, but I can't find replacement frames. If I could find a replacement frame, then I would potentially just refurbish it and then just keep it as well, because if I'm going to keep a Note 7, I want it to be in good condition, you know? So... yeah, but yeah, since this one's completely shattered, I might do some videos with it. Maybe do a water test, which I already kind of did because I dropped it in a tub of water yesterday, and even though it was shattered, I don't think it got any water in it because it's still working just fine, and I haven't seen any water damage effects. So, but if it does corrode and it fucks up, then I'll send it back. So. Yeah, and so yeah, so that's how I got that one, and then people kept asking where I got this blue one. A friend of mine sold this to me, my friend Justin. He sold it to me with a bunch of stuff for $400, and with it I got a Gear VR, a Gear 360, the box, all the accessories, a case with it. That ended up being a Note 5 case, but nevertheless a case with it, and yeah. And so, yeah, I spent $400 on that. I sold the Gear VR for like $50. I sold the Gear 360 for like another $50. And yeah, so basically I got this thing for like $300. And which is just a little bit less, just a little bit less than I spent for the Note 8. So I basically spent the same price for this as for this. And yeah, I'm really glad that I got this one. Honestly, I like this more than the Note 8, but of course the Note 8's more usable because you don't have to worry about the service and all that. And plus, this one's just in such good condition. I've already gotten some scratches on the back of it because unfortunately the blue does show scratches pretty easily. So that's the only thing I don't like, is that it has gotten some scratches on it, but it's still in good shape. Like I said, the only blemish is that chip down there, but that's no big deal. So no scratches on the bezel. Okay, one little scratch on the bezel. But yeah, so it's still fully working. No issues with it. And as far as other things that are working and not working on it, just like a normal phone, everything's working just fine. But yeah, so that's how we got that one. And yeah, so I'm trying to think if there's any. I'm gonna pause this video real quick. Either way, I pretty much answered all the questions that I got regarding this. Besides, like, what, will you sell it? Is it gonna explode? Whatever. But yeah, so that's basically just an update video on my Galaxy Note7s. They're all working just fine, no issues. I'm the only person that, like I've mentioned, I'm the only person I think who's posted a 2019 video on these Note7s. But yeah, so still working. If you have any other questions about this Note7, just let me know. I don't know what else there is to say about it other than everything else that I mentioned. But yeah, so that's basically my video on the Galaxy Note7. Just kind of answering some questions, debunking all the stupid things people are saying about it who don't know what they're talking about. But yeah, so that's basically it. Not worried about it. Still working just fine. Again, remember, there's a 0.0000004% chance I might have put one or too many zeros in there, but either way, incredibly small possibility of this having any issues, and this has been working just fine. And again, if it does have issues, put a new battery in it, call it a day. But this is still the original battery. This one's still the original battery. Obviously, I'm returning this one, so I'm not going to bother changing the battery in it. But yeah, you can still return this. You can still get your full value for it. So if you want to use it for a bit, if you want to use it without a case until you just completely destroy it and then send it back, that's whatever. If you're selling your Note7, let me know, because I might want to buy it. If it's blue, I want to buy it. If it's silver, gold, black, maybe. But especially if it's blue, because I don't see that many blue ones out anymore. I see black, I see silver. I haven't seen a gold, because obviously gold isn't in America. But I haven't seen a blue one in a long time, and I do love this blue color. It's just so nice. Once in a while I'll see someone sell these. Like I saw some dude from Russia sell one on eBay. He sold a silver one, but it had a blue back on it, and he sold it for like $700. Actually, no, the bidding was at like $400, and I think it stopped. I really should have bid on that, but then again, it's some random guy from Russia. He never sold anything before, so can't really trust that user feedback. But whatever, that's all water under the bridge now. So yeah, that's the it's a Note7 2019, still working. I think that's basically it. I think I've said everything. I think this video's gone on way too long enough. I don't feel like editing this. My computer isn't running again. The reason why is because when I moved, I lost half of my things. So there's some vacuums I don't have anymore. There's some I don't have the cables for my computer anymore, so I can't hook up my computer. I don't have my webcam. I have my microphone, but of course that doesn't really go well. And this is the best quality camera that I have right now. So yeah, sorry about that, but yeah. So if you guys just want to know, if you guys just want like a vlog just talking about what's been going on, why I haven't posted in a while, I might do that. But in the meantime, this is my updated video on my Note7. So, and of course, I still got the Note 5, still got the Note 8, still got the Note 4, I still got the Note 1. That's just sitting in the box over there in the bedroom. And yeah. So this is Intelitech Studio signing out. I'll see you guys in the next video. Sorry this isn't the best production quality, but it's something at least. and I know the other one was popular, so I figured some people might like watching this one. So, yeah. If you guys still got your Note 7, drop it in the comments below, blah, blah, blah. I'll try to drop links to the people that I mentioned in this video in the description so you can, check them out, give them some love, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. It's supposed to stop it. It's supposed to stop the video. Why is it not stopping the video? Did the S Pen die? Okay, maybe it died. Oh, it did die. That's why it's not stopping the video, because the button died. Okay, whatever. See you guys in the next one.